Decades, Mike Madigan was the most powerful politician in the state of Illinois, and now he is in federal custody. The longtime former House Speaker has reported to prison in West Virginia, beginning his 7.5-year sentence.
And this completes the stunning downfall for the man referred to as the Velvet Hammer. Let's bring in former Chicago FBI Special Agent Ross Rice to talk more about this. Ross, thank you so much for your time today.
Sorry, Paris, I have no audio. I can't hear you.
Oh, he can't hear us.
Ross, if you can't hear us, we'll have
There
to
you
take
go.
care of that. Oh, you got us? Okay, great. All right. All's well that ends well. Ross, first of all, we know that he's going somewhere in West Virginia. I looked it up. There's a few federal prisons in West Virginia. Do we know exactly which one and what conditions he will be facing?
No, the last I heard, Paris, is his defense team had asked the judge to designate him to the Federal Correctional Institution in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's just a recommendation that the judge can make. The Bureau of Prisons has final discretion on where to send an inmate based on their history and their needs. So I'm not sure if that designation has been made yet.
You know, Ross, we look at Madigan's age, and it brings up a lot of questions. 83 years old. Is that taken into consideration on which federal prison that someone would typically go to based on age alone?
That would be one of the determining factors. Age, health, criminal record. Those are all things that the Bureau of Prisons is going to look at. And I must say, in my experience, and to their credit, they do a fairly good job of getting inmates to the right institution with the appropriate amount of support, safeguards, and protections. And I think that'll be the case here, too.
You know, Ross, when we look at Governor Blagojevich's prison situation, it was in Colorado. He had a track that he could run on. He played in a band. He taught other inmates history. Would you anticipate that Madigan's going to face a similar minimum security situation where he will have some free reign to roam around and to not just, you know, be shackled all day long?
Absolutely. Given the crimes that he was convicted of, his age, his background, his education, he's going to be in a camp setting. Camps are usually adjacent to a higher level, more secure institution. Camps, you're in a dormitory, you have a fence surrounding you, not walls. And you're encouraged to help other inmates, whether they're in the camp setting or inmates that are in the regular institution with college education, learning skills that would benefit them on the outside once they're released.
Ross, you mentioned that camp setting in particular, and we do know that Madigan's wife is sick. I think that's in part why he wanted to be in Indiana and why they were pushing for him to be at that facility in Terre Haute, Indiana. That didn't happen. Are those circumstances considered in terms of visits, in terms of phone calls, when you have an aging and sick spouse in this case?
It is, but you know, phone calls, Zoom visits, those can be conducted from anywhere. The big issue here would be a physical in-person visit. Obviously, if he's been designated to an institution in West Virginia as opposed to Terre Haute, that's going to be a little more problematic for the family. However, it could be that this designation was made because the camp in Terre Haute is full. And it's quite possible that he'll have to report to West Virginia, and then in days, weeks, months down the road, he might be moved. But those are things that are taken into consideration by the Bureau of Prisons, absolutely.
Ross, another similar case, Ed Burke, he was moved to a halfway house. Obviously, his sentence was much less than Mike Madigan. Madigan beginning a 7.5-year sentence. But how much of this sentence will he have to serve in the prison camp?
His sentence, Paris, was 7.5 years. Under federal sentencing guidelines, inmates get credit for good time that reduces your sentence. In this case, doing some quick math, to about 6 years. Now, there's also a recently enacted provision as part of the sentencing guidelines. It's called the First Step Act, and it's directed to and targets elderly inmates who pose no threat to others. They're not convicted of a violent crime, and they may have extenuating circumstances such as health issues that can be better treated outside of the prison setting. And I think that's what happened to Alderman Burke. He was released to the halfway house and I believe is now under home confinement. It makes for better care if medical issues are present, and it helps to reduce the prison population that the Bureau of Prisons has to deal with. They have a finite number of spaces. So if they can put someone who's not a threat to the community in a more benign setting, they'll certainly try and do that.
So are you saying that it is possible in this case, similar to Ed Burke, that Michael Madigan could end up in a halfway house?
A halfway house is almost always a transition point, Tia, from your regular period of incarceration. You're designated to a halfway house for various periods of time. It could be as short as 30 days. It could be 6 months. Every case is different. But yeah, he would definitely transition to a halfway house. And then if he's released on some sort of home confinement, that would be the next step. But I don't think you're going to see that happening anytime soon, not with a sentence of 7.5 years.
And Ross, we know that he's obviously trying to appeal his case. Just wondering your thoughts on the appeals process here and what kind of chances he has on appeal.
Well, his defense team filed an appeal with Judge Blakey, who was the presiding judge and who issued the sentence. And they were asking the judge to essentially admit that he made an error in the trial. That very rarely happens, and in this case it didn't, and the judge denied the appeal. They then went on to appeal the conviction to the Seventh Circuit in Chicago, which covers the Midwest. They're going to take that appeal under advisement. There may be oral arguments. I know written arguments were already submitted, and they may make a ruling weeks, months from now. Whether it's going to be in favor of Madigan, I would tend to doubt it. It seems like Judge Blakey was very keen in how he ran the trial. In his sentencing remarks, he pointed to a number of factors in which he concurred with the jury's verdict of guilty on numerous counts. So anything can happen, but I don't think there's much of a chance that the appeal is going to be successful.
I want to go back to something else you said, Ross, when Pierce asked you the question of how much time do you think he'll serve here, 7.5 years. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he will have to serve majority of that time, considering everything that has transpired inside that courtroom?
Well, he's going to serve the majority of that sentence, Tia, whether it's at a camp, whether it's at a halfway house or under home confinement. That's all considered part of your sentence. Where and how much and how long in each setting, we'll just have to wait and see. That's up to the Bureau of Prisons. And obviously his health. If his health should suddenly deteriorate, they're not going to want to keep an elderly inmate with medical conditions in a camp setting. They could transfer him to one of the federal prison hospitals. I believe there's one in Rochester, Minnesota. Or they could release him to home confinement so he can get medical care on his own if needed.
All right. Our thanks to Ross Rice. Thanks as always, Ross, for joining us and talking about this. We appreciate it.